Yeah, man, how are you?
Oh, I'm amazing. Great,
So,
great to hear your voice.
yes, likewise. So how's
Likewise.
how's your productivity these days? It's been a while
Uh,
since we've
it's
talked about this.
yeah, it's good to talk about it. It's much better. I think I took a lot of stuff that you said and I really applied it to work. I've never really applied it to work before. I have in like spurts, but I never really did it like you did it, where I actually applied it to things that I despise doing.
Right.
I always did it sort of for like, personal growth a little bit. Or I like to learn something or, it's just stuff that we've done in the past that was awesome, but I've never really done it for work before. And I know that you did. And I just had a bunch of tasks that I just couldn't, that I didn't want to do, that I dreaded doing. And I put them off and put them off and put them off. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I started doing them like honestly 5 minutes a day, and they just disappeared.
What were the tasks? What kind of thing?
So much stupid shit. Like I had tax forms that I had to fill out for from every different state. So I
Right.
had like these reams of paper work that I had to fill out that I like dread doing. So I always kept saying, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Saturday will be tax day. I'll do them all on Saturday. Same stuff that I know I shouldn't do, that I wouldn't do with anything else, that I tell other people not to do it. And I was doing it with these things. I had permanent residency paperwork I had to fill out for Canada. Um, Visa work for Marina for the US. Just stuff that needed to be.
I'm hearing a lot of government shit.
That's what it is. That's what a lot
Yeah.
of it is, which I
The worst stuff.
despise. Yeah, the
Everyone's
worst.
worst nightmare is, I think, filling out government forms and doing insurance. Like any of those two things, 5 Minute Master's perfect for that.
It was actually perfect. So I was like, okay, so I chopped them into like five different things, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna spend 5 minutes a day on each of these. That's it. So and I did it, and in like a week, I was done with one of them. So in like 5 days, the tax forms were done because it didn't actually take that long.
No.
Once I started actually going through it, it wasn't actually that much work. It wasn't anywhere near the work that I envisioned it being. So in like a week, those were done. In another 3 days, the permanent residency stuff was done, except for a couple phone calls.
God,
Yeah,
that
it
took
just
me that was 4 months of putting it off and then a week of
yeah
doing it for me to get
yeah
my permanent residency
it was
Canada done.
exactly the same thing for me, like the exact same procedure, exact same turmoil. Yeah, it's weird too because I know I shouldn't do it, but I didn't really apply it to like mundane tasks before. I always applied the 5 Minute Master stuff to things that I wanted to do for fun or I thought would help me. Yeah, but so now I do it for every work chore that I have that I don't want to do
I
or that
think
I'm
you,
not looking forward to doing. I say, okay, I'm 5 minutes a day on
yeah,
this.
I think you can say, what am I not doing that I should be doing? And you can interpret that however you want. Because everyone has this, what, what's his name? Pressfield calls it resistance, right? Everyone has
Yeah,
resistance to getting shit done, no matter what it is. And he talks just from an artistic point of view. But man, I have
sure.
resistance to doing anything.
Me
I have
too.
resistance to getting a shower some mornings, and I know that okay, if I get a shower, that'll kick my day off because all of a sudden I get more shit done once I've had a shower. If I haven't had a shower, then oh man, I haven't even had
Yeah.
a shower. Where would I begin trying to sort my life out for the day? So I think it goes way beyond what Pressfield was talking about. I think it goes to resistance to absolutely everything, and you've finally seen how it can work for stuff that you hate doing and you'll never enjoy doing. You will never, I hope, be like, oh, do you know what? I love filling out my forms for the government. I love paying my taxes. You know what
No,
I mean?
I hate it, and it's with so much of the tax stuff, which is so stupid. It was so much paperwork for honestly not that much work. What I mean is that it was so many like so I had this huge stack of forms and I'm like, oh my God, these all got to be filled out. Like this is going to be a nightmare. I don't want to do this. But majority of it was just instructions on telling me how to fill out the forms.
Yeah,
So when I started going through it, I realized, wow, 80%, 85% of this paperwork doesn't have to be filled out. It's just useless forms that
yeah.
they send me along with everything else. But yeah, so and I know better. I know I shouldn't do it. Like I
That's the
know I
point,
should
though,
just
right?
yeah.
The point is, we all know better, but it's about putting it into practice. Like, how many self-help books have we read between us? I mean, so
Fuck
many.
man.
They all have great principles, but I think I want the tiniest thing to get started, because if I'm not doing if I'm doing the tiniest thing, it's an infinite gap. Whereas the gap between doing, 1% and 100% isn't infinity. So I'll take that infinite gap. The infinite gap is easy to bridge if you just use this method, if you just get started. And like we always say, there's going to be things like tax returns, which you don't enjoy doing. So you'll have to always use the 5 minute master to get through it.
Right.
But there's other stuff where you start with the 5 minute master, you find out that you actually enjoy doing it, and before you know it, it's like an hour, 2 hours a day. It's part of your routine, it's part of your life, which is what you wanted from the start.
Right. It was super life altering for both of us, I think, from a personal development standpoint, for things that
Oh my God.
for things that
Yeah.
we wanted to do, for things that we thought, hey, I really want to learn this. Because I break it down into two forms of tasks, obviously, where I use the 5 minute master. I use it for stuff where I know, hey, I really want to learn this, but I'm going to keep putting it off, or I really want to do this, but I keep putting it off. Like I started writing a screenplay 5 minutes a day, something I've always wanted to do. I've always had a couple ideas in my head, and I'm all, oh, I'll put it off when I'm done, when I make more money, when I have more time. It's the same old bullshit that everyone says, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I just started doing it 5 minutes a day. That stuff I've seen the light on. Like I'm in it 100% for that stuff. 5 minute day. That's about 2 hours of my day right now. I spend about 2 hours a day of 5 minute blocks of learning things I've always wanted to learn. We've been like this for. I know you do it too. Like I've been this way for like at least a year.
Yeah.
But now I started applying it to the exact opposite tasks of things I dread doing.
Right.
Like the things I absolutely do
Dread,
not
yeah.
want to do, but I know I have to do.
Right.
So it's sort of like those are the two places, and they're exact polar opposites, right?
Yep.
Things that don't really have any, fulfilling benefit. There's no fulfilling benefit to me to fill out these stupid tax forms, but they have to be done, and I don't really want to pay my accountant, a ridiculous sum of money to do something I could very easily do.
Because he doesn't want to do it either. That's why he's charging so much. Nobody wants to do this shit. No one wants to do it.
Yeah, so that's the two places right now where I'm at, where I've seen the light, and yeah, I use it for almost everything now. I use it almost the majority of my day from business things that I have to do are now chopped into 5 minute blocks.
It's like the starter motor for the engine of doing something. You know what I mean? If you have it in a car engine, you have a starter motor, and then that gets the proper engine going. And that's basically what the 5 minute master is. Here's a little thing which can get it going. And some days it won't start, but at least you've revved up that starter engine. You know what I mean? And for other some things you only need the starter engine, just every day, just keep it ticking over. But occasionally you get into this, like for comedy, for me, it's been game changing. We were talking about this when I was in Toronto. The fact that, and I've kind of had a bit of a problem with this as well, because after a while I was doing so many things. There are some downsides to it if you don't kind of keep applying the method, right? So I was doing so many things at one point that it was kind of filling up a lot of my mental energy, because I was doing it first. So I had 2.5 hours worth of 5 minute master stuff to do to start my day. And I'd want to start my day with it. So, which is good, but I'd say I've got 3 productive hours a day, and if I'm being completely honest, I'd say 2 of them are high end brain productive hours. So, I can still work all day, but it just, the drop off is huge for me, especially if I'm trying to use my brain on something. So, and I found that I was doing all that with 5 minute master stuff. So then I do my stand up at the end, and it wasn't really helping. Now, first thing in the morning, especially because no one's in the house, I'll come downstairs, I'll set my timer going, and I'll do 5 minutes of stand up to myself, as embarrassing as that sounds. And it always ends up me doing like an hour of writing afterwards and refining that stuff, which is what has always led to me getting on stage, which has done a lot lately. I've been doing a lot more kind of stage time and making some breakthroughs with that. But it's about, just because we do like 2 hours worth doesn't mean everyone else should do it. I've actually cut mine down. I
have too.
Massively. Yeah. I was testing the method for a while, and now I've cut it down because I'm like, okay, let's focus a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, we also started not doing 2 hours a day.
No.
You know what it is, and maybe this is different for you. Like I find that we have a lot of friends like this, so I don't think we're necessarily, obviously we're in the minority of the overall population, but I'm fascinated by things that I don't know. Like I'm there's so many things that I'm curious about, and this has given me a tool to be able to explore so many of those things. So I actually so much look forward to it. That's why I think we do so many of them a day. Like once you realize how many rabbit holes you can jump down using this method and actually start to like make progress and understand things, like it's endless of the things. So if you're someone who's interested in things, it gives you a tool to not put off, hey, I really want to learn about astronomy, but I don't have time right now. Like you could do it with 20 different things. It's 10 things you've always wanted to know more about. Like we do it right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anything that I see and I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. Like I really want to know more about that. I just try to add it to the list. So I'm always having to curate my list of 2 hours because I don't do more than 2 hours. So I break it into chunks. I can't do more than 2 hours because I was at a point too where I was doing like 2.5, 3 hours a day, and I just don't have, and it just sort of bleeds into other things, and it becomes not as much fun maybe as it should be.
Right.
But yeah, I look forward to it. I plan some of them like a couple months out. Hey, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna do this. Like I have a list of things that I want to do in the 5 minute, using the 5 minute master method to get better at or to learn or just because I'm curious about it.
What kind of things have you? So we speak about getting rid of tasks because tax return, fucking anything like that, it gets rid of them, right? And they're done, right? Has there been any skill where you have learned the skill and gone, all right, I don't need to do the 5 minute master anymore. I've got the skill because I've got a bunch of those. I've finished to the level of being as good as I need to be, which is fucking great at a bunch of skills where I don't even need to put regular practice in anymore.
That's interesting.
So for me, I'll just get started. And for me, typing was always a big deal. Touch typing, not being able to look. I don't think the MacBook Pro should be called the MacBook Pro. Why? Because the keys light up and there's letters on the keys. So how are you a fucking professional if your MacBook has letters on the keys? You're not a professional. You don't have professionally how to type. So I need to learn to professionally type. I did that after 4 months of 5 minute master, I got 90% of my gains that I've got now, and I'm ridiculously fast typing. I continued it for a year. I discovered the 80-20 principle hard, and I realized I only got a little bit better with that year. But I tried it. Rubik's Cube again. I went from not being able to do it to getting to an average of 40 seconds within a year. And now I don't do it anymore. I pick up the cube, I do it every now and then, but reading, I never used to read. I never used to read at all. I burned through 6 books last year, 5 minutes a day. Now I read every morning and every night, and I'm burning through books. So it's reignited those things. It's not part of my 5 minute master thing though. So these sound trivial things, but I've learned skills and I've got into habits where I'm like, oh, this is just what I do now. I can do this, and this is what I do. So is there anything like that where you've picked it up and then you're going, oh, I've learned it, I don't really need to keep going, or it's a habit which is beyond checking off a box saying you've done it 5 minutes a day?
So that's interesting. I haven't really used it to acquire like a skill, like a physical skill, and then I don't do it anymore. So a lot of the stuff for me were rabbit hole, like that I sort of started down and it just progressed into something else.
Right.
Like I used it a lot for areas of okay, so you know what, maybe it is. So I always want to learn how to sort of, negotiate better or be able to have better conversations, be able to sort of sit in a room where you're trying to get a desired outcome from both parties and negotiation.
Right.
Like I've always done it, but I've always done it on sort of like a one-on-one interaction in the jobs that I've been in. But I found myself recently in situations where I'm in a room with 6 or 7 people, and there's sort of like a negotiation going on. I'm trying to figure out who's who at the table, and if that makes sense. So I dove into that, and I definitely over the last year have picked up a lot of skills that I've put into practice and things I've gotten better at. So yeah, but it's not something that I then said, okay, hey, I'm done with this. I'm going to abandon it. It's still something that I work on. It's still a rabbit hole that I'm down. So I don't know if there's anything where there's like a skill where I like, okay, I conquered this. It's just a simple physical skill. and
Yeah.
I've conquered this, and now I can put it away. I'm trying to think of something. Like
Or
I
something
use it
like
for
something which just started a habit, which is now just a habit. Like for me, reading is a habit now. It's something that I do, and it was always in the way. I've always thought, oh, you have to put an hour aside to read a bit. You know what I mean? And I want to get back into reading, but I just don't
right.
have the time. What I need to do is go on vacation and take a book with me, and
See,
then
that's
that
not
book.
really a skill, though, is
It's
it?
not, no.
Like,
So that's why I mentioned it, because it's not like the skills of doing the Rubik's cube and typing.
yeah, I
This
mean, there's a
is a practice.
bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff like you, like just like you, that I did that now I do all the time. Like I started with the 5 minutes of meditation. Now I meditate every day. Started
Right?
with the
Yeah.
five
Same.
minutes of like mobility work. Now I do my mobility work every day.
Right.
Started with the 5 minutes of sort of like movement, like to make myself a little bit better athlete, like just moving, the Conor McGregor, as Nate Diaz calls it, touch butt in the park.
Yeah.
Shit with
Moving
like the
coach stuff.
Portal. Yeah, yeah. So I started doing, if you remember in Tampa, I was doing 5 minutes of that like a day, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I still do that. So yeah, I'm trying to think. What you said is really interesting. I'm trying to think if there are skills that you could apply it to where you could do it, you learned it, you're done. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I conquered this in 90 days. I got this to a point. Like the typing's a really good one.
Typing is brilliant.
Got this to the point where I'm good. You know what? Something that I'm in the midst of doing right now, which I may abandon when I'm done, is I'm trying to increase my memory.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the card things, the Tim Ferriss deck of cards, like work on your memory, make your memory better. So I'm in the midst of that right now. When I
Awesome.
get to a certain point with that, I probably won't continue it. Like I'll probably be like, okay, like this is cool. I improved this, and I'll probably put it to the side. So I guess that's maybe one of them.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
So it's interesting. I guess there's a bunch. There's so many. It's endless what you can really apply it to, kind of.
That might
We're
just be a
talking about
category
applying
that
it
you
to a
can look
bunch
at,
of
right?
stuff.
That might be a
Yeah,
category where you can go, oh, wait, is there a skill like maybe I'm not thinking about skills where I can acquire it and be done? Typing's a perfect one. Do you want to learn to type? Well, I
right.
reckon you can be done in 90 days. Like if you do 5 minutes a day, I literally think you can be done in 90 days. You can get all of your gains,
I
majority of
agree.
your gains anyway.
That's definitely a section that we should explore that we
Yeah.
haven't really talked about before. Like we've always talked about from like the personal development. I'm going to continue down this, but the actual skill where hey, you don't need to be the greatest typer in the world, but being able to type 30% better than you are now will make your life way easier. If your
Oh,
memory,
way
if you can
easier.
make your memory 30% better than it is right now, boom, you probably don't have to. And the question is, yeah, and you'll probably have that skill for forever if like once you learn how to type, you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you stop doing it, if you never do it, but you're going to do it every day, pretty much, just because it falls into your life every day, right?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Fascinating. It's
sorry,
super powerful, man. No, I was just gonna say it's so powerful. Like, and I still hear the same excuses from every person I tell about it. Every
Right.
fucking person I tell gives me the exact same bullshit.
Yeah.
And the excuses are both ends of the spectrum. They're the exact opposite end of the spectrum. A, I don't have time. And B, the other one, which I actually get more. Oh,
This
you
is the
know what?
craziest.
This is the craziest one ever. You know what? I'm going to spend an hour a day on that.
Yeah. Oh, really?
You know what?
Cool.
5 minutes isn't enough. I'm going to do an hour. And then I see them 2 weeks later. I'll be like, hey, how's that website coming? Oh, yeah, they had, just had a bunch of stuff came up.
Yeah,
It's the same thing every fucking time. I love it. I get such a kick out of it now.
It's awesome. I love it.
It's awesome. I love it.
I reduced all of mine, completely got it down to what's important now that I'm kind of, because I've seen the power of the thing, and now I'm like, okay, well, instead of just doing the thing for the sake of the thing, which is what my 2 hours was, I thought, how am I going to get the most out of my time? So obviously stand up is the big one. And I found the most effective thing is that first thing in the morning when my brain is fresh and firing on all cylinders, well rested, that's when I can write the best. The other stuff, and this is what I wanted to really talk to you about today, is I've been looking more into like personal relationships and that kind of thing. So I've kind of like been traveling for 6 years, roughly speaking. I left England in 2012, and I went on this whole, find myself kind of thing, which is what most people do. Although most people don't wait till they're like 29 to do it. But anyway, I did that, and I've been basically just concentrating on myself so much that I've come back now, and luckily I still have a family. I still, everyone's still alive, everyone's still well. And I realized that when I was going through doing some of this stuff, like my mood is so all over the place. Like you'd think I was bipolar sometimes. Like especially around the most important people in my life. Your family. This is what everyone's like, right? When you're with friends and work, you're on like it's not even your on best behavior. It's just that you are best behaved because there's a disconnect there between your family and your friends. It's almost like your family are you. So you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's almost like you let your guard down a little bit and you can give your family shit and whatever. And I basically it's similar to the 5 minute master, but what I did was I swept the board clean on stuff that I was doing every day. We keep ourselves accountable every day. We believe that an app or some form of accountability really matters. So instead of having, have I done 5 minutes of push-ups? Have I done 5 minutes of that? I just did my comedy thing, and then I just did 3 items, and it was the people that I live with. Did I have a positive day with those people or not?
I love that.
My mum, my brother, and my parrot. That's it. I'm like, okay, so have I in any way been a nightmare to be around with these people? Have I like snapped at somebody, been in a mood with them, that kind of thing? And just to keep an eye on it and see if I could do it. And you know what? It was the hardest thing to get a streak of 1 week with 3 people. And one of them's a fucking parrot, and that is where I've been kind of concentrating on recently. And it's a good foundational thing to start with if you believe you're a piece of shit, which I do. But I'm slowly moving away from this. This is look when we keep talking about missed opportunities in life right now. When I'm on my deathbed or wherever, when I jack out of the Matrix, which I believe this is all a simulation anyway, and if I look back at my life and go, wow, I should have really learned to type, I feel bad for not doing it, or even worse, I should have got on stage more and pushed it with my stand-up career. But you know what would make me feel even worse is if all the people that really matter to me in my life, if I hadn't have been, not even make their life better, just not be a dick to those people, just be less of a dick in general, be someone that people want to be around without compromising who you are, but just not be a douchebag, essentially. Basically, Shaun, I'm using the 5 minute master to not be a piece of shit, and that's what I've been working on, and it's been the hardest thing ever. I can do a Rubik's Cube in 40 seconds average, but it's really difficult to not be a cunt to my family every day. It's really fucking weird. So that's what I've been working on. And you say you separate your stuff into like health, wealth, happiness. I'm interested in that because I find that for the past 6 years of my life, I've been the most selfish person ever, which you have to be in order to help other people. You need to help yourself first. But I'm certainly in all right, how do I fit in with my friends and family more and not be a cunt to people in my life? So that's what I've been kind of working on, which is why I kind of wanted to wait until people went in the house before I spoke to you about it, because I want actual reactions. I don't want to think that I'm trying to do this, you know what I mean? Because I want it to be genuine, the responses.
So that's amazing. That's great. Like, that's fascinating that you're, I think, it's sort of like a twist on sort of the 5 minute master. The 5 minute master is sort of a very technical,
exactly,
just to make it super easy for people. The fact that you're aware of, I put this as like, this is something, I do it very similar to you in a little bit of a different way. And this is something I started doing a couple of years ago when I really started meditating and journaling a little bit, is to like be sort of aware of your day. Like, what are the 3 things you want to accomplish in your day? And just from like a personal standpoint of, hey, so one of the things I always do is, hey, I try to call my mom every day, even if it's only 5 minutes. And I know not anything to do with 5 minute master, but even if it's only just, hey, mom, love you. Had a really busy day. Hope your day was great. But like, just try to call her 5 minutes a day and not be an asshole. Because I have a tendency to be an asshole with my mom.
Yeah.
My mom, like I'm sure everyone's, my mom infuriates me.
Oh, my mom infuriates me as well.
She infuriates me. She's the only person who gets me angry, who can make me angry. All my friends that know me really well, my girlfriend, they all laugh about it. Because you know me, I'm pretty even keeled. Like, I don't lose my temper. I don't really get upset. I've worked very hard. I worked in an industry where, I cultivated that over a decade of, hey, I don't really lose my temper. I don't really lose my cool. Like, I'm pretty even keeled no matter what. My mom infuriates me. Like, my mom's the only person in the world who can actually wow me up, like get me actually really upset. So, But I've tried very hard to have very similar to you. Okay, look, if I'm arguing with my mom about something, I got to have 5 minutes a day where I'm just not being, where we're just having a positive interaction. And if at the end of the day, I can say, hey, I had a positive interaction with her for 5 minutes, that's a win.
Yeah.
So I think just being aware of the people, I'm also consider myself very lucky because I am very aware of the people that I have in my life and spending time with them and wanting to have good interactions with them. I don't really know how I came to it, but it's probably like a couple years now where I'm very aware. I'm very appreciative of the time that I have with the people that I care about the most in the world.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, it's an amazing revelation when you actually start because life goes by so fast and you're moving 100 miles an hour. And I want to say I read something that sort of made me and I'm trying to remember what it was, but I can't recall. But yeah, I try to be aware of those. And obviously some days are moving 100 miles an hour and, you're not aware of the interactions, but sometimes I'll look back at the end of the day. Tim Ferriss talks about this little like 5-minute journaling at the end of the day. Hey, what was good today? And something small. And Tony Robbins talks about like when you pick like things that you're appreciative of. Don't always pick big shit. Try to pick like little stuff. Hey, I'm sitting in the room and sitting in a warm room drinking my coffee when it's snowing outside. Like that's something to be grateful for. Like just little stupid shit that you don't even think about, but that sort of helps me be a little bit more aware. And I've tried to translate that into the people, if that's very similar to what you're talking about.
Well, because we don't spend any time thinking about it really, and I think it's just about putting little measures in place where you can be accountable to yourself. And I've never really thought about doing that 5-minute journal at the end of the day, but I'm definitely getting into like habits now, because then you just get the most out of your day. I'd love to think that I'm just this guy who can just take everything on as and when it comes, and however I feel like it, that's how I'll get the most out of my day. But really, it's like I need to do certain things in the morning. That's when it works best. And in the evening, it sounds like a good way of winding down. So what's a good way of starting that 5-minute journaling at the end of the day?
They actually make like a 5-minute journal, but I do a 5-minute journal in the morning and then I do a 5-minute at night.
All right. So give us a quick pointer for both on how we can do it for anyone.
So mine in the morning is super simple. Like it's just, I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. One of them is usually, and I stole this directly from Tools of Titans. One is basically just someone in my life that I'm thankful for that has been in my life. Something that I have the opportunity to do. And then something really small, like something really stupid, like, hey, I'm thankful to drink out of this coffee cup. Like I'm thankful to be able to that my car is not going to break down. Like just that my car didn't break down. Just a little stupid shit, but it reminds you of. So I do that. And I also added one, which I've been doing for a while, is I will every day try to reach out to someone that I haven't spoke to in a while.
I've been doing that as well. And
it could just be like a text message of like, hey, hope you're doing great. Hope everything's good. Love to see you. I'll touch it, whatever it is. Just someone I haven't spoken to in a while and it doesn't even have to be someone, because I don't have that many like really close friends. I have a core group of people that I spend a lot of time with, but it's just someone that's, I used to work with, or someone that I know through a friend of a friend, or just someone. And that adds up, man, over obviously days and months and years of just interacting with people, which I find to be very, selfishly therapeutic for me.
But if it works for you, then it works for the person, right?
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, obviously the feedback that I get from that is always good. And I've ended up setting up, dinners or drink or a coffee or hey, we're going to this event. Are you going to be there? Yeah, great. I'll see you there. And it's just sort of just not letting people sort of wander from your life that at one time you cared about, or because we all live in that, so many of our friends, and I don't know if this is the same for you. It may be. So many of my friends throughout my life have been work-related friends,
right?
Because you spend so much time at work that like you build relationships with these people, and then when one of you leaves the job for whatever reason, that world sort of falls apart, and you have all of these time with these people. Like fuck, I spent more time with the people I worked with in my last career than I did with anyone in my family over the last 10 years. Like if you were to look at the last 10 years of of my work, the people that I worked with, I probably spent 5x the amount of time with them that I did with my mom or my girlfriend or anyone that's in my life that I care about. So when you leave that job, or they leave for whatever different opportunities, or you're just moving on, it's weird because those relationships, sometimes they almost like they fall off the face of the earth, right?
Yeah, they just
Like you're
drift.
spending, yeah, but no, I don't even think they drift. They just drop like a stone.
Right.
Like you're working 50 hours a week, you spend, 40 hours X with somebody, and then you leave that job. You see that person then what? Maybe once, for the first couple months, maybe you stay in a little bit of contact, but then it just goes from all the time in the world to zero. So yeah, so I've tried to do that, and that seems to be very helpful to me. And it seems to sort of keep those relationships a little bit intact. If you care about keeping them intact, obviously some I don't, so I don't make any effort. But the 5 minute in the morning, 5 minute at night, and then at night just being like, hey, how could today have been? The question I always ask is something great that happened today. Something great that happened today. How could today have been better? And what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? That's my 5 minute stuff at the end of the day. I'm in, I'm out. Like it's super quick. It's just a reflection.
Something that could have been better. Okay. Just writing these
something
down.
I could have done better. Something that was great. And almost for me, invariably, the something that was great was time I spent with somebody. It's a coffee. Really? It's a lunch. Yeah. It's a 10-minute drive with Sharzan. It's 5 minutes on the phone with Panda. Because like people are, it's so fucking corny, but people are everything to me.
Everything,
like it's everything. Like the time I spend with people it's everything. All the other stuff is just. It's all just garbage.
It's just noise, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's just noise. All the work stuff, it's all just noise. Like it's all the social interaction that you have with people. Yeah, so for me, almost always something great that happened, or something great that happened will be something that I may have internally have like discovered, or something that I did that I've been putting off, or something that I accomplished, right. Some demon that I sort of slayed in some way. But
more usually often than not, I'd imagine it's
95%. It's a 5 minute drive with this person. It's a workout I did with Ali. It's something super dumb, super small that normally you would just go by the wayside. But so here's where I find it to be incredibly powerful. Is what I find is by writing it down, the next time that I do it, or the next time that I'm in it, I'm appreciating it in the moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you've identified it.
Yes. So that's where it's incredibly powerful. I was driving, just a little side vignette. So I wrote it down one day that Sharzan and I drove to Niagara Falls, and we had a really good talk along the way. At the end of the talk with Sharzan today, the next time that we were in the car together and we were driving, we were having another deep talk. He was telling me all about his family, and I've realized in the moment, I'm like, wow, this is really this is awesome. Like, this is a really good interaction for both of us. And I was much more present in the moment.
Right.
Because I could reflect back on that. So that's where I find it really helps me.
And that's where everybody, you and I especially, but everybody these days is struggling. That's all people are talking about with the attention economy and cell phones and the internet and all the bullshit 24-hour, 2-hour news cycles even, And we're all looking and going, wow, is life passing me by? And it is. It's always passing you by. And it's about how much you take in it at the time. And you have a finite number of interactions with people that are important to you. And every single one of them is an opportunity to really appreciate what you've got, because it's going to go. That's just the end of it. No matter what, everybody we know and love is going to die. Everybody. And if you're lucky, you'll see them all die. If you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you'll be the one that goes first. Or unless you might see that as lucky, but that's kind of a sad way of kind of looking at it. So I think that's why I wanted to talk to you about this today, because I want to use this kind of, and it's just because this is called the 5 Minute Master Podcast doesn't mean we have to be pushing our method all the time. I'm more interested overall.
We know what the method. Banging on the drum of
the method is how we get into the conversations like this. But overall, I'm just interested in appreciating life and getting the most out of life. And that's why I want to talk to you about this today. And that's a great thing. That's good. I'm going to do both the morning and the evening one. I'm going to give that a go for a month and see how that goes.
90 days.
90 days I'll do it for. I'll be able to 5 Minute master it.
I think you'll find it helps you tremendously. I do the journaling. I do the 5 minutes in the morning right after I come out of my meditation. So I do a 20-minute meditation, come right out of it, right into a 5-minute journal. And again, I stole this directly out of Tools of Titans. So one day I do that, and then the other day I will do the Tim Ferriss where I just write for 5 minutes. And sometimes that 5 minutes turns into 15 minutes. I'll just write my thoughts out on paper. Like I'll just start writing. I just it's just Tim Ferriss calls it 5-minute pages or something like that. I just start writing my thoughts, like whatever I'm thinking, whatever. A lot of times it really helps me with with things that I'm afraid of. Like, what are you afraid of, stupid? And then I start writing it out. So ridiculous when I write it out sometimes that I look at it and I read it back and I'm like, this is dumb. I find that to be very therapeutic. So I sort of mix the two.
Yeah.
Like one day I'll do just the 5-minute writing, and the next day I'll do sort of like the what I'm grateful for and person I'm grateful for and who am I going to reach out to today. So I mix the two of them basically, and I just go back and forth. And it takes 5 minutes. And 90% of the time it's only minutes. And then sometimes I'll just be writing and I don't want to stop because I'm in the middle of a thought and I'll just keep writing until I'm done. But usually it's just 5 minutes. And then the 5 minutes at the end of the day is so fucking simple, man. It's super easy.
You're bookending your day as well. There's something about that. There's something about that which I really like, especially for switching off and getting into the mode for sleep. We all know how important sleep is. We've all listened to that Joe Rogan podcast. I just want to get the most out of my sleep as possible. Yeah, I got his book as well. I'm just reading that at the moment. Awesome.
You got to send it to me.
Yeah, I will do. I've got, I've forgotten what the guy's name is, but I've got another book for you, which I'll bring over when I next come down, which is How to Change Your Mind. And it's a history of psychedelics. It's insane. So it's a history, and then this guy in his 60s goes on a bit of a journey with it. Incredible stuff. Yeah, I'll send that over to you. But yeah, I love anything like that where it's a method, something you can use every day, and it's just a tiny push in the right direction to at least get you thinking about what you're doing, rather than just being, a leaf blowing in the wind, going from one emotion to the next. And actually look back and go, well, at least I know I am thinking about this. It's like that thing I told you I did where I wrote down all the people in my life and how often I contacted them over a year, and I was genuinely shocked, at how few times I'd seen these people, even spoken to them. Like, before you know it, you're going to be one of these people regretting how little time you spent with people, how you let life just pass you by, and you'll always feel that to some extent, regardless of what you do. Even the people who've got the biggest families and have focused completely on family will think, wow, I never went for my dreams in a career. And the people who did it the other way will think that, wow, I never had a family, or whatever that may
So this is a super interesting point that I think you're making, because I was going to bring it up before. So is it just a human element or human nature in some way that no matter what, you're going to feel regret?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I would spend my whole life trying to figure out how to not do that. I don't know, consciously you recognize things have to be sacrificed in order to accomplish certain things. So is it always going to be the person who's super successful at work or super, I don't even want to say successful because that's not the right word for me, because I think there are a bunch of people who are super successful, but they're not doing what they want to do, or they're not happy, or this isn't really what they want to do, but they're trapped. And so they feel like they're trapped in some way. So they may be, peripherally super successful. What about the person who does exactly what they want to do? They followed their own path. They've beat their own drum at work. Are they all, no matter what, are they going to have personal regret?
I think that the only way of mitigating that is you never know, right? Because everyone's different, and you never know until it happens to you. But I'd say that you'll be the safest bet is to constantly be evaluating your days in terms of opportunities and kind of regrets, which is kind of what you're doing. Like, oh, what could I have done better? Well, I'm evaluating it at least daily. So I'm going to minimize the possibility of that happening, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. To me, that's all the health, wealth, and life is.
Right.
All it is to me is trying to find a balance so nothing gets so there's less neglect. That's all I'm trying to do with it. So everything gets sort of hopefully at least tended to. on a daily basis or within a time frame, whether that's a week or whatever. That's all. When I look back on it, now that I talk to you, when I think about it, aside from having a balanced life where you're happy, all the health wealth is trying to do is mitigate the regret so that you pay attention.
Wealth and
I call it life. When I first started, it was love because it was, I thought every person should be healthy, know how to fight, know how to make money, and be able to talk to any chick you want. So when I first started on this personal development, I got into it in a strange way, but it was, these are the three things I want to be able to do. Like I want to work out. I want to know how to fight. I want to know how to make my own money so I'm not dependent on anybody else. And I want to be able to walk up to any girl in any situation and be able to say hi and introduce myself. That was my goal from the beginning. So when I broke them down, these are the things I'm going to work on. For me, it was health, wealth, and love. That love has sort of translated now into everything relationship-wise that's not the other two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of translated into my relationship with my girlfriend, with my mom, with my friends. It's even with people at work. It's basically every relationship. I call it life, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean,
it needs to rhyme. So health, wealth, and then we need a third. Stealth. There's no way. I don't know.
I mean, everyone does this now. Like I know, but this goes back to, I mean, I'm sure it's way before Ben Franklin. I'm sure he stole it from someone else. But Ben Franklin used to talk about health, wealth, and healthy, wealthy, and wise, which is his mind. And he used to break his day down into those chunks. I got it from some pickup artist 12 years ago. And I was like, wow, this makes perfect sense. And he had the centric circles of the health, wealth, with the, hey, if you're out of balance in any of them, this is what's going to happen. And I was like, I can follow this. I'm stupidly analytical, from that perspective. If you give me a steps to follow, I'm good to go, which I think can be helpful because I think so much of the things we talk about are actually actionable. That's why I hate books like The Fucking Secret and all of that shit. Just think about stuff. I have so much in my head, I can't think about everything. I need systems.
Yeah.
So Scott Adams talks about, I need a system to accomplish this. And what I've found, incredibly fortunate that I found it, is if you implement the systems enough, they become your thought patterns. Way easier than the other way. Right. Way easier to convince your mind, then act on it, is to just start implementing actions every day. And eventually your mind starts to change.
Right.
So I need things that are actionable. If it's not actionable, I have no fucking time for it. That's why the writing stuff down, for me, it's an actionable measure that I can do. I'm not just thinking about it. I need to actually write it down. The actually picking up the phone and calling somebody, it's an actual action instead of just thinking about, I want to have better relationships with people. Okay, fuck off. You're not going to do it.
It's too big. Yeah.
It's too big. It's too vague. The big, massive goal to me is just, so interesting that we talk about it. Remember how I used to tell you how I chopped everything into 6 months, 90 days, 2 weeks, and a day?
Yeah.
And it was incredibly helpful. It was great. It was always I've gotten rid of the 6 months and the 90 days now.
Okay.
Got rid of them. Completely got rid of them. I live completely in 2 week cycles.
14 days. That's it for everything.
That's it on everything. Don't think outside of the 2 weeks. Have an overarching
14 days and 1 day goals and 14 days.
Yep. And every day I rewrite the 14-day and I rewrite the day. So sit down, 2 index cards, a 14-day index card and a 1 day.
Give me an example, generic example.
So we have to. We have a meeting with Cineplex. We have to have a presentation done. It has to be, so right now for the next 14 days, we have to set that meeting. Meeting has to take place within the next 14 days. So we're working towards every day, working towards that for the 14-day. We have a room that we're building, 14 days.
Okay.
But just giving yourself that, and it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be one thing, but that's pretty much all. That gets all of our focus for 14 days. And then, sometimes we may have to reset it. for 14 days. But even from like a workout standpoint, hey, I'm thinking about, hey, what am I training for the next 14 days? What can I get better at in the next 14 days? The fact that I've been able to curate it down to like 14 days seems to be incredibly helpful for me, because I'm really not thinking beyond it. Hey, I want to be good on my diet for 14 days.
Yeah.
So I'll come up with like a health, wealth, and life thing I want to do for 14 days.
That's a good idea, because it doesn't seem so huge then either, because you know that, hey, it can be changed in 14 days or whenever.
Exactly. And then every day I have to put some work in towards that goal, towards that. So when I look at it on a daily, when I pull out my day 2 index cards and I write down today's date, these are my 14-day goals. What am I doing today to move me closer to that 14-day mark? And the fact that it's only 14 days, being able to cut down, I would say 90% of our ability from a business standpoint, things that I've learned have helped me, has not having open-ended goals, because I feel like they don't get done. When we say, hey, something's got to be done in 14 days, and we're like, okay, fuck. And a lot of times you've been in that room, we all look around the room and we're like, no fucking way. Like, no way this gets done in 14 days. And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes what gets done in 14 days is 80% of it, but it's 80% done now.
Mm.
Whereas if we say, okay, in 6 months, we're going to do this. So we're just doubling down on it. We're trying to get more, like we're trying to do it even more now. Hey, 14 days, this has to be done. We have a franchise presentation, which has to be done in 30 days. So when this 14 days is up, the next 14 days is 100% on that franchise presentation. Has to be done. So it's just stuff like that. Just one task, one job, one thing. It's all of our effort for 14 days, and then we reevaluate and see where.
I like it. It's interesting that you got rid of the 60 and the 90-day thing.
Yeah, they're too.
Whatever works for you, right?
They're too big. It's too far. Yeah. Stuff can change. Shit might change. What we want to do might change. Yeah. Like a whole bunch of stuff. This stuff we can also have another conversation on a different channel. But yeah, it's just stuff we want to do might change.
Yeah. Something new opportunity may come up and shift the focus, which means it's not contributing to your 90 days, but it's contributing to the overall, which is makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Shaun, I'm conscious of time. Don't want to make this a long one, but let's try and get this done again in 14 days. How about we commit to that?
I find it incredibly helpful to even talk about it. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, Shaun, thanks very much.
Thanks, Mass. Have a great day. See you soon, Mass. Bye.